The way that you know that you love yourself is when you let yourself die. When you say, bye-bye, thank you for everything you've done. I don't need you anymore. And what emerges is the beingness, the present moment, that present moment awareness, which is love. I remember when I had this, I guess they call it an awakening, this separation from myself. I was going through, of course, the most difficult time of my life because suffering brings awakening. So happened to me that same way. And the thoughts, and I was just completely possessed and enraptured by these thoughts. They had me by the throat. And I even thought, why can I not let go of these thoughts? So I had thoughts behind thoughts. I mean, it was a mess. And then something happened where I just I stepped back from myself and I said, where are these thoughts coming from? Are they even useful in any way? That's what I asked myself. Are you useful in any way right now? Because you're keeping me in a loop, because I've been in this loop for years now and I'm getting really tired of it. And it was the fact that I had taken myself down so deep into these thoughts, into the loop of the thoughts. I'm sure if you've been there before, you know, it's just like this endless cycle of really nothingness, of just driving yourself crazy. And I thought, well, let me observe them. What are they? So when I stepped back, I was able to separate myself from the thoughts, and I realized that myself was a crazy lady. I'm like, who is that? And I actually didn't even recognize her. It wasn't who I was. And I said out loud, I'm like, that's not who I am. And in that moment, it just kind of really clicked for me. And so I started to study a little bit deeper and really study my thoughts, you know? That moment was the beginning of the end for me. I let the crazy lady go. I started to exist in the present moment. Once the thoughts would come up, we would have a quick little chat, be like, yo, no, not right now. And they would shoosh away. And the more that I kind of practiced being present and then observing the thoughts and then realizing that the thoughts weren't a thing in my world, then eventually the thoughts recognized that they had no more power over me, that they couldn't pull me and tug me in every single direction. And so they kind of just stopped coming and my mind cleared and clarity came. And through all of this, I was doing my movement practice. I was really moving physically through it because I knew that that energy was also stuck inside of me because I could feel it, right? So even if I wasn't necessarily mad, I could feel the rage within me. So I would purposely just go and kind of tear it out of me through the dance, through the movement, through the sound. This process of awakening and also clearing that excess energy, because you do have to clear that. It does live in your body, and your body is like a storage unit. It's been with you since you were on this earth. And stuff gets stuck inside. So it was a simultaneous process for me of freeing myself from the thoughts, freeing myself from myself, that autobiography that I wrote about me, that narrative that became my identity, that I believed in and fought for. That was it. I burned that fucking book. And then simultaneously working through clearing the energy out of the body, starting to really pick up on my body talk, noticing cues from my body that would help me self-regulate. And so this process of, I would say, mind and body clearance became the inner peace. Beautiful. When the inner peace came, I knew because all of a sudden there was so much time and spaciousness, so much quiet and stillness. It was as if I had been living in a really noisy apartment unit with wild, crazy creatures. And all of a sudden I had been dropped off in the middle of a forest all alone. And I was like, ooh, what is this world? I want to exist in this all day. And to exist in that all day, you just have to be present so that the thoughts don't latch on anymore. And so that became my new reality. And when I dropped that leash of that tugging dog, that tugging thoughts, the thoughts like, have you cray. Everything became really effortless. So when you drop off the self at the bus station and you get home, what's left? It's the I am, it's the beingness. And when you have nothing latched onto you, there's no more baggage, there's no more narrative, there's no more thoughts that you're latching onto. What happens is that there's like this effortlessness that enters your life, because there's nothing that you have to prove or be or live up to or catch up to or figure out or go back and look at again and observe. You're just always here. You don't have to keep up with the autobiography. You don't have to write the next page and make sure that it's popular and people read it and you sell it and then you get famous, and then that, makes your ego even bigger, and then you just keep feeding the ego and the ego. And it's like all of that nonsense, all that backstory, all that craziness disappears because there's no autobiography to keep writing. There's no ego to feed. There's no kingdom to rule. There's no narrative to prove. There's no identity to live up to. There's no sourdough starter to feed. It just quiets. It just quiets. So this quiet opens up so much space in your life, and it heightens the senses. You start seeing the world like you've never seen it before, and then the little things really start to bring beauty into your life. And so you no longer seek like this dramatic high and low. And so once you kind of get used to that, you start to flow. You flow with that energy, and it feels really good. And because you have the contrast of this quiet to when the thoughts come, you can really pick up on them and see them very clearly right away. So the thoughts can't take over anymore. The ego meets its demise and dies. And with the egos goes all those concepts, all the labels, all the names, and you can see the world so pure. You can see that it is. You can see that I am. There isn't a label behind it is boom or I am It just is. And this transcends into this oneness. And so you realize now that it's a one consciousness. Everything is one. And this connects you. This connects you back to your true essence. And this connects you to everything around you. And that's how you know you're connected to the love. When you're connected to all of that. And that is at the forefront. And everything else is at the background, maybe even gone. I guess that answers the question. So yes, I continue to practice this all the time. I practice being present. I practice being present through my everyday life, but also through my movement. When I move now, I move in a very different way than I did before. As before, I was releasing all that emotional stuckness, all that emotional garbage, toxic energy that was in me. Now, most of the time, I'm just moving to be present because the body is here and now. And so moving in every single moment of the movement allows me to practice presence. And yeah, once in a while, like yesterday was a pretty rough day for me. And today I'll probably practice and make sure that I get that energy out of my body because I can still feel that it's there. So then I can go back to flowing in the presence. That's really the practice. Anyways, if you want to know more, reach out to me. I do privates online, in person, and I have a lot of offerings. So DM me. Have a beautiful day.